Hello, thank you for joining me for another video. And today we are talking Nebius stock. We're talking Nebius stock, and I'm also going to give you a quick run through the YouTube portfolio. I have done a little bit of investing this week inside that portfolio, and that also includes some Nebius buys. So first we'll look at that, and then we'll move on to the news that we've got regarding Nebius stock at the moment. So first of all, let's have a quick look at the overview of the portfolio. So the only changes that I've made this week is I did purchase one share of Meta when it dropped down earlier in the week, and I have bought a little bit more Nebius. You can see the portfolio is still heavily grabbed at the moment, but I have bought some more Nebius, and I do have Bitmine in there as well, just to have a little bit of exposure from crypto. So my reason for buying Nebius, well, it's still at the bottom of this portfolio. I do have Nebius in my other main portfolio. I started buying Nebius around midway last year. My first buys are in the $40, and my average is around 50, 60 at the moment as well. I did actually buy a little bit more Nebius in my main portfolio, and I bought a couple more shares in the YouTube portfolio as well. So we know that over the past 6 months, basically, Nebius has run a lot. And if we just share and jump into the stock price, I can give you my thoughts on what I'm thinking with Nebius at the moment. So you can see today it was down 2%. We've had a lot of up and downs this week. But if we look over the last year, we can say it has had a massive run from the bottom to the top. We're talking 500%. And I really like Nebius as a company. I first started investing kind of around this mark. And I want to build my exposure to Nebius, particularly in the YouTube portfolio, and also in my main portfolio as well, as I really like the business. However, with the big run up that the AI stocks have had, that whole ecosystem has run up a lot, and there is a lot of hype on the name. I'm very aware that not only is the market quite hot historically at the moment, it's very near all-time highs, but also there is a lot of weight put on these AI stocks. So if the market takes a correction, these are going to get hit. And also if there's any wavering doubts about the whole AI thesis, because there is so much relying on that at the moment, or if NVIDIA, for example, shows some weakening demand, AI names are going to get hit. So with that in mind, I'm going to be gradually scaling into Nebius, which is why if we look at the portfolio at the moment, it's still a low position. I'm going to be averaging in on this name over time and gradually nibbling. So around the $100 mark is okay for me at the moment. It would not surprise me if we drop back down to the 80s or maybe even the 70s. We know this stock can swing a lot. I mean, if we look at the last month, we've been down to 83 and we've been up as high as, I think it just nearly touched 110 as well. So with that in mind, I'm not dumping all of my money in at the moment with how hot the market is in AI, but I will be gradually putting it in there. And I think also something to bear in mind here is I like Nebius because of all the stuff that comes with Nebius. It's actually a very old company since it came from Yandex, and the team is a lot more mature when it comes to doing this stuff. And it also does a lot more of the software with helping smaller companies build on the Nebius platform and using their data centers. And then I've also done a video a few days ago which talks about all the other subsidiaries that Nebius owns, the other AI companies that it either owns or has a significant ownership in. But at the moment, these data center names trade very similarly. So if you look at today, for example, the last trading day, Nebius down 2%. If we have a look here, IRN down 2.2%. And if we look at CoreWeave, which is the other big data center name, we're down 2.4% there as well. So between CoreWeave, IRN, and then also Nebius, we are tracking very closely. And what I'm looking to see over time is these companies will start to, their stock price should move them as an individual company rather than just the hype and the narrative around AI data centers. I do think they're very different businesses, and I think over time we should probably see these start trading independently. So now we've had a look at the stock price, let's have a look at some news that we've had just a couple of days ago. So main bit of news that we've had is Morgan Stanley has initiated coverage in Nebius. So they're actually going to start tracking Nebius, and that means they've given out their very first price target. So they've come out with their note and they've marked it with equal weight to start off with, and the initial price target of $126. So that's obviously a good upside from where we are at the moment. It is below the all-time high, but I think it's good that even though they've just initiated, they've not gone crazy with their price target, but they've still got really good upside from where we are at the moment. And they basically cite really good growth. They're seeing growth coming this year and also big targets of what they want to do with growing their kind of AI compute and their infrastructure around it. This Yahoo Finance does say some sort of skepticism around Nebius Group's annual recurring revenue target. They have got a big target for this year, but we know there is so much money going into that AI industry and how hard they're working on that inside of Nebius. Hopefully they will be able to hit that. So this bit of news here, Morgan Stanley initiating coverage. We're going to see more increases in coverage of Nebius over time. And also I'd like to think as they're executing month on month, quarter on quarter, we should see these price targets increase as well, hopefully as more people try to seem to catch on. If we're looking at the scheme of things, like Nebius has been trading in this kind of $80, $90, $100 range. Its all-time high is up around about $140. So we're actually well off all-time highs, which is why I'm okay in accumulating at the moment. But with how hyped the name is, they do need to be executing consistently. While we're talking about their target ARR and executing this year, I thought it'd be useful to check in on what people are actually thinking about Nebius this year and what the analysts are predicting. So big on to here, this is Nebius Group's analysts' average predictions. And you can see we've got here revenue. We're a growth company here, so we just really want to look at revenue. We don't only want to look at revenue, but it's crucial that this is growing very fast. And it is at the moment. We had 500 million of revenue in 2025, and they're targeting 3.4 billion of revenue in 2026. A massive, massive jump, and we know they're signing the contracts to back that up. What you'll also remember is that when we're talking about ARR and revenue, these are very different and comes down to Nebius charging on a monthly basis, providing software, and also it growing so quickly. So although analysts are estimating a 3.4 billion revenue inside 2026, if we go over to here, you can see this is when they announced their most recent update on their ARR target back towards the end of this year. And with their Q4 results coming up soon, we should hopefully get a further update on this, whether they solidify it or change it. If they could raise it, that would be amazing. But they've given us a rough target of 7 to 9 billion ARR by the end of 2026. When they say ARR, just a reminder, that's annualized run rate. And that is basically essentially taking the final month of the year, because they're growing so fast. Let's take the last month of the year. If you times that by 12, that would be the run rate that they would make for the next 12 months. So we're talking about rapidly growing that from where they are at the moment. And I know that in the past couple of quarters, their target ARR by the end of 2025 was increased. They've given us the 7 to 9 billion target for this year. Hopefully they can exceed that. If they've reached the top end of that or exceed that, that would be great. And also as they're providing us updates on the quarterly earnings, if they're exceeding that, that's only going to be good for investor sentiment and the stock price as well. And again, here it talks about that guidance of 900 billion to 1.1 billion by the end of 2025. So when we get in these Q4 numbers through, we can actually see where they end up here, and a beat on that would be great. When you're talking about very high, well-valued companies like these AI stocks, you need to be at least hitting or probably really beating your guidance in order to keep up that high multiple and all the hype you have around your stock. So it'll be very crucial to see what they're actually going to be hitting there. So that's the main bit of news that we've had on Nebius. They continue to execute. They haven't noted about any new huge partnerships yet, but we do know they've basically said that they're pretty much sold out of their capacity. They had a huge deal with Microsoft that they got, and they also had a huge deal with Meta that they put together as well. And they said that they could have done more with Meta if they actually had the capacity, which they don't at the moment, unfortunately. So the more they can build their capacity, the more they can invest in building these new data centers, it's going to help us a lot. And that is one benefit that we've got about Nebius as well. It does have sources of revenue, and it could raise money by selling off parts of its other business or borrowing against that. So they do have options for raising money and just growing as quickly as possible. And there are rumors going around about new data centers that are also looking at launching or expanding as well. And then another piece of really, really good news that has happened recently for Nebius. So it was very recently, NVIDIA spoke about a lot more about the Vera Rubin chips that they're coming out with this year. And it's the next step after their Blackwell chip. And NVIDIA has already offered these to Nebius. So Nebius hopefully in the second half of 2026 is already going to be able to offer these Vera Rubin chips to their customers. And it just shows the strength of Nebius as a business, that they can be one of the first people to offer these. We know that NVIDIA is an investor in Nebius as well, which is really, really good. To be an investor, to have the money and the backing of NVIDIA, but also to have that access to their chips as soon as possible. So this is going to be great for Nebius as well. Not only are they selling their Blackwells and their other chips, but they can offer this, which is going to be hopefully higher margin. Hopefully, you're going to have a lot of demand on this as well, and it only strengthens Nebius's business case of when you want to use this kind of service, you're going to have to go for them for your inference and your training and stuff like that. So that's another nice bit of news. This actually came out on the 5th of January, but with all the talks that NVIDIA have had recently, they actually showed off their Vera Rubin chip last week, I believe, at CES. It's worth re-noting that there's a lot of hype around that at the moment, and Nebius is going to be one of the first people to offer that as well. So I really hope you found this useful. Just wanted to give an update on Nebius, what I'm thinking about at the moment, and also what I'm doing investing-wise. I am nibbling at Nebius at the moment. I'm also preparing, if there are any dips ahead, then that's when I will be buying more heavily. But I'm happy with my progress on acquiring Nebius at the moment. I'm just going to keep a very, very close eye on how they're executing, because that needs to be tip-top to keep their share price and their excitement up. So I hope you found this very useful. I'll be back for another video very, very soon. And if you're a Nebius investor, I would love to know your thoughts in the comments as well. When did you first start getting excited about Nebius, and what are you looking ahead for the stock price and also the company in 2026? Apart from that, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the very next video.